Actress Kelly Preston has died at the young age of 57. Her husband of 28 years, John Travolta, confirmed that his wife had died after a 2-year battle with breast cancer. Preston enjoyed a lengthy career herself in film and television. She was in Jerry Maguire, Twins, and at times starring with her husband in films like Battlefield Earth and Gotti. The couple was married in 1991 in Paris. They met on a film set and they had 3 children. Remember, in 2009, their son Jet died after a seizure in the Bahamas, but they did persevere through that, and they've always been such a loving couple. They always appear together. So joining me now to talk about breast cancer, the signs and the symptoms that women need to look out for, local oncologist Dr. Scot Ackerman. Thanks for coming in today.
Good morning. Thank you.
Talking with us via Zoom, I should say. You're not really here. So, Dr. Ackerman, while the family has been very private about her battle, we know she was treated at MD Anderson, which is nationally recognized as a top cancer center, and she battled this disease for only 2 years, according to her husband. So does this sound like maybe an aggressive form of cancer, do you think?
Yes, it does sound aggressive. If someone's diagnosed and dies within 2 years, it generally means that it's a fairly aggressive cancer. But it could also mean that when she was diagnosed in a later stage. We know that women that are diagnosed with the early stage, that's found by mammogram before it has a chance to spread to lymph nodes, has nearly 100% survival rate at 5 years. But a woman who's diagnosed in a more advanced stage, where the cancer might be in other parts of the body, they only have about a 27% 5-year survival rate. So we don't know in her case whether or not it was aggressive or whether it was just diagnosed in a more later and advanced stage.
And you mentioned, early diagnosis is so key with any cancer, especially breast cancer. So what are things that women should be doing to make sure that we're tuned into our bodies and that we notice any changes in our breasts?
So there's 3 things we talk about in screening for breast cancer. Number 1 is self-examination. We recommend that women start self-examination at an early age, the age of 20 or their late teens. So examine your breast the same time every month and feel for a thickening of the skin, a lump that you didn't notice the month before, any kind of nipple discharge, or some lumps in the armpit. We also recommend an annual examination by a physician, a trained physician, to examine the breast, and sometime beginning in your late 20s. And then screening mammography is very, very important. Mammograms save lives. We diagnose breast cancers in an early stage before it's palpable, before you can feel it, by doing a mammogram. And the recommendation generally is that a woman who's of average risk should have a mammogram once a year, beginning at age 40.
And Dr. Ackerman, I want to talk about women with dense breasts, because sometimes the recommendations are a little different for women when doctors see that.
So with women who have dense breasts, we also recommend some additional screening on top of doing a mammogram. For instance, we recommend an MRI of the breasts, maybe every year or every other year, as an adjunct, meaning in addition to a mammogram. Because the MRI can see deeper in the breast, can see some physiologic changes in the breast. We also have some really neat mammograms now called 3D tomomammograms. And these are almost like a CAT scan, if you will. It's not a CAT scan, but it's a mammogram that looks in 3 dimensions at very thin slices of the breast. And in dense breasted women, these are excellent in order to identify abnormalities that are deep in the breast that you wouldn't normally see because of the density of the breast.
Right. Dr. Ackerman, thank you so much for talking with us. That's why it's so important, to continue to talk with your doctors. And we know that we haven't seen her publicly in 2 years, so we really don't know how the cancer ravaged her body, but we know that she was surrounded with love and admired for her fight. Kelly Preston dying at the young age of 50.